What I love the most about this is that the entire movie is just about making deals with people and having conversations with people. There's a way that you could fumble that and not make it interesting and fun. I was entertained through and through. Hey everyone, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be ranking the films directed by Ben Affleck. Now, he's always been a favorite of mine. You know, his acting, his writing, his directing, he can really do it all. For me, his writing is the strongest. I absolutely love Good Will Hunting. If you haven't seen Good Will Hunting, it will bring you to tears. Such beautiful dialogue, and Robin Williams literally gives a stunning performance in that movie. Right after you watch Good Will Hunting, please watch Ben and Matt's acceptance speech at the Oscars because it is the most inspiring thing ever. So wholesome. So in light of Air coming out last week, I did watch it. I did review it. You can check it out on my website and the link's going to be down below. But I thought that I would rank the 5 films that Ben Affleck has directed. And it's a bit tough for me because they're all so good, except for one. But the one that I have in last place, which I'm going to obviously talk about first, really suffered in post-production. So coming in at number 5, I have Live by Night, which is based on the novel by Dennis Lehane. I always pronounce his last name wrong, which I read in preparation for this movie. And I was really excited because it came out in the midst of the whole DC fiasco, if we're going to call it. And I really wanted Live by Night to hit because of everything that Ben had gone through with DC and Batman and Zack Snyder and He Who Must Not Be Named. It was just something that I was personally rooting for. I was, prepping. I read the book. I wanted to watch the movie. The book is fantastic. I love mob movies. I love gangster flicks. And I was really excited for Ben to take a stab at it. Unfortunately, with Live by Night, it was a bit all over the place and it wasn't as strong as the other films that he has directed. And that's why it brought me so much pain because it felt really stiff. It didn't flow. And I think that it suffered in post-production because of the editing. There was almost too much of it. It was very excessive. And the story just wasn't translated well to screen. Yes, there are many components in the book that really couldn't be transferred over, but there was the heart, the bones of what Live by Night was about. It's just that it wasn't cohesive. It didn't stick. It wasn't engaging enough, and it wasn't that much of a compelling story as it was in the book. The book, I couldn't put it down, which was really different than my experience watching Live by Night. It did run a bit long. He did work with a cinematographer, Robert Richardson, and it looked gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. You had a great cast with Zoe Saldana, Sienna Miller, Ben Affleck in the starring role, and obviously Chris Messina, who's been a favorite of mine for a while now, and he's worked closely with Ben on a couple of projects. But Live by Night, it fell flat for me. Did not feel like a Ben Affleck movie. Next, I have Argo in 4th place. I know, don't penalize me for this, please. I liked Argo. I did. I thought what Ben Affleck did in Argo made the story really interesting. It had a really strong dynamic with this cast and with its characters. I think that it is a very tough film to watch considering the subject matter. The whole purpose of Argo, the whole story, is that in the midst of the Iranian Revolution, this one CIA operative needed to get out 6 Americans that were stuck there in the crossfire of it, and they were stuck at the Canadian embassy. It was a whole process to get these 6 Americans out of there. It's hard to have certain conversations or, meetings and have them be interesting. And I think that Ben Affleck really just hit the nail on the head in regards to the conversations being really intense, tension-filled throughout the entire film. Every single movement from these characters and the placements in certain scenes and locations made this really interesting to watch in the first half. It was all about getting to where these 6 Americans are. And Ben Affleck gave a great performance in this film as well. On top of all this, Ben Affleck's been really outspoken about many social issues. And on top of that, he's been really outspoken on religion as well. And it's something that he has studied. His background knowledge in this and presenting this story, a very important one to the world, is something that he took very personally, and you could tell that it came from a good place. So in third place, I have The Town, and it takes place in Boston. Obviously, why wouldn't it take place in Boston? The Town is about a bunch of bank robbers who end up doing one job. They end up kidnapping one of the branch managers, who's like really pretty, and they start, a relationship. One of them starts a relationship with her, but their relationship kind of threatens their identities to the FBI agent that's on their case. So it's in itself, it's a heist film technically, but it's a really strong thriller. And again, you have these action pieces when they do break into the bank. Like, sure, the action set pieces are intense because of what they're doing. The way that these action set pieces are framed, the way they are executed, I think adds so much to like the quiet moments and the intimate moments, because you know how brutal these guys can get. And again, Ben Affleck gives another strong performance in this as well. And I don't think I've ever seen him so like menacing. Obviously he was Batman, but like this was just, it was a different form of menacing. And I think that the cast is stacked. You have like Jeremy Renner in here, you have Rebecca Hall, you have Blake Lively, you have John Hamm. Like, it's a stacked cast. I really like The Town. From beginning to end, it is an adrenaline-filled film. And if anyone tells you their favorite Ben Affleck movie is The Town, then you need to become friends with them ASAP because it's so good. In second spot, I have another Dennis Lehane novel being adapted, and that is Gone Baby Gone. It is a really difficult watch. It stars Casey Affleck, Michelle Monaghan, and Morgan Freeman, actually. It is a stacked cast. It's a film that flies under the radar, unfortunately, but Gone Baby Gone is one of the best thrillers that I have seen in the early 2000s. It's really strong, and it deals with some really tough subject matter. It's about this 4-year-old girl who disappears, and her parents hire these 2 detectives who aren't really the strongest in this field, especially because they cover other cases. They don't really cover disappearances or kidnapping or anything to deal with children. And the reason why the parents chose these 2 detectives is because they know the area. And by them knowing the area, they can kind of get a feel of the people that would have taken their daughters. So I thought that the deeper they went down this rabbit hole, which is it's perfectly structured. It's really hard to adapt a novel. I've always said this, but I think that Gone Baby Gone really took the important aspects of the book and it flowed extremely well. The performances are strong, and the way that Ben kind of peels back what had happened to the little girl, and it's not only happening to this little girl, it's happening to other like young kids in the area. It's the conversations being had, it's the placements of these conversations through the editing, and it's visually what these actors present on screen that you feel for their job and how tough this is, because your morals are tested at the end of the day. Once you do find out what these men or women do to these young kids and how they've been kidnapping others, and you're just locked in with these actors, it's more so how they are telling us what happens. And then visually, you're piecing together what, the drug dealers are capable of, what other older men are capable of doing. And instead of fully telling the audience what's happening, Ben kind of shields the audience in a way. But the way the visual storytelling works here is that it places some hints while they're discussing it, and you don't see the brutality of what happens in Gone Baby Gone. And it's more so the thought of it, because you're piecing everything together. And I think that's even more effective than showing everything. And I said that with the Boston Strangler in my review, that it's more effective to show a bit and then have the audience use their imagination, because you kind of don't want to see certain things. And he just takes the smallest moments and makes them really engaging. And that's why he is so good at what he does. And that's what leads me into Air being his number one film for me. It is a very well-rounded film. It is a sports biopic. It is about Nike's journey in acquiring Michael Jordan and developing the Air Jordan. That's literally the entire story. You're probably like, Manda, we can read that on a Wikipedia page. I said, you know what? You're right. You could. Sometimes biopics aren't that engaging and they're not that fun because they don't know how to make it fun sometimes. You can play with the visuals on screen. You can play with the structure of the story a little bit. Of course, you're going to embellish just a bit, but you can make it fun and make it exciting. And it was exciting for Nike, who was third in the ranks. Okay, it was third in the ranks. It was Adidas and Converse, and then Nike was just sitting there, and they were struggling to find basketball players that would wear their stuff. And what I love the most about this is that the entire movie is just about making deals with people and having conversations with people. There's a way that you could fumble that and not make it interesting and fun or entertaining whatsoever. I was entertained through and through because in Matt Damon's performance as Sonny Vaccaro, okay, he came in guns a-blazing. He really nailed it. It's one of my favorite performances from Matt Damon. It's so strong. You saw the intensity of someone in sports management who believes in one rookie, and he was gonna freaking gamble everything. He was going to risk it all for Michael Jordan, and he made the right decision. The more important thing here is that the audience obviously knows the outcome. So that already, while we're watching Air, we're anticipating when, Michael Jordan's mom is going to step out onto the screen and start managing for her son. We're waiting for them to make the deal and all of that. So we're already anticipating that, and it's exciting. But what made this so fun to watch through every single deal is the banter between all of them. Jason Bateman was fantastic. It was great seeing Chris Tucker back again. Okay, he knocked it out of the park. The one person that absolutely stole the spotlight in this, and he reminded me of Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire, was freaking Chris Messina, who was the sports agent making these deals. So you had Chris Messina yelling into the phone of Matt Damon, literally telling him, you're never going to get a meeting. You're never going to get a meeting because it's up to Adidas and Converse. So those, the banter between them all, the placement of each scene and how it kind of flowed into each other, the doubling up of what it meant for Sonny Vaccaro to get Michael Jordan, for him to secure his own position at this company. Okay. And then the longevity of seeing this rookie become an all-star. It was just so interesting to watch, and it was so fun. It was so fun. The soundtrack was fantastic. The needle drops came in at the right time to kind of reflect what was going to happen in the next scene. It sets the tone for the next scene without them kind of establishing it. So I liked that he did that. And Ben had fun with this. I think he's someone who loves basketball. He loves basketball. So he really just put so much love and respect into honoring Michael Jordan and his story. And I love that he didn't show Michael Jordan, because everyone knows that it was Michael Jordan's mom that really brought him into this, that helped him, that kind of shielded him from what these corporations could have done to him. And then she's really the person that made the Air Jordan on behalf of Michael. And I think that there are some excellent choices that were made. Viola Davis was absolutely stunning in this movie. But when isn't she? She's absolutely fantastic in this. Everyone worked so perfectly together. It is a feel-good, inspiring film, and it's all about risking it for what you truly believe in, and they risked it for Michael Jordan. So I was blown away by Air. I think it is a perfect sports biopic. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. This is kind of like my mini review of Air, so I thought I'd do a little countdown of his films. But I was in love with this. I really loved Air. It was just so good. I think it's his best. I know people may fight me on it and say, The Town or Argo. So that is how I would rank the films that Ben Affleck has directed. It's really hard. Apart from Live by Night, everything else is really hard for me to kind of put into different placements. It could change over time, but right now Air's a number one for me. Let me know If you've watched any of Ben Affleck's other films, let me know how you would rank them. Let me know if you enjoyed Air and what your favorite sports biopic is. I think that this was like top tier. Sometimes it could be like generic and steady in structure, but still be a damn good time. Sometimes the strength of a biopic is literally the performances, how you write the inspiring dialogue that comes with the subject that you're talking about, and the authenticity of the time period. I think I was transported back to the 80s, and I think that really helped get the feel of how gigantic of a shift this was going to be in the basketball world. So I thought everything hit in Air. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And if you guys want to help me grow this channel and grow this wonderful community, there are ways to do that in the bio below. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.